Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast, built for real estate professionals that want to work less, earn more, and make an impact in their community. For information on how you can become part of the estate professionals community, visit probate-mastery.com. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to give it 2 minutes to wait for other people to jump in and not have anybody else jump in, so we'll go ahead and start with those of you guys that are here. Welcome. As everybody knows, this is the Estate Professionals Mastermind weekly coaching call. We're here to take your probate questions, whether it's business building, if you're in specific deals or having certain conversations. We want to kind of break those apart and help you build your probate niche. So thank you guys for being here. If you do have questions, I want you to drop down to the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and click on raise your hand. If you can't find that, turn your camera on and give me a wave so that I can see you and call on you. So this is a kind of an opportunity with a little bit of a smaller crowd this morning so far, or this afternoon, to kind of have some private coaching. So if there's anyone here that if I put a call out and said, hey, book a call with me and do some private coaching, this is a great opportunity for you to ask some of those questions about your business, about your strategy, about your conversations that you're having. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start and just sort of let you guys know a little bit of an update on where the business is as a whole, what some of the things that we're seeing in the market are, what consumers are responding to, what customers are and consumers are not responding to. I've been back in production for about a year now, closing some deals, building pipelines, recognizing some of the things that are changing, and there's definitely some things to adjust for right now in this market. Some things that we've taught in Probate Mastery that need to be tweaked and adjusted a little bit. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be redoing a bunch of the lessons inside of Probate Mastery. We're actively recording those right now. Nothing significant to change, but it is nice to kind of get a little bit of a fresh perspective from time to time in the business. So I think it's still vitally important that relationships in your business start with a cold interaction, typically a cold call. Let's call it the chasing side of the business. Cold call, mail, that sort of thing. Those are still starting conversations and relationships, but we need to recognize that in the early days of someone being in probate, that cold outreach is often one of many cold outreaches. So if you don't have a quality conversation starter and a good technique and skill on being able to move those things forward, those conversations forward, you may struggle a little bit. So I'm just going to encourage those of you that are starting relationships through cold calls to practice more often, think through your conversation strategies and what would you want to hear if you were on the other end of a cold call. I am curious. I was on a Zoom yesterday, and the host mentioned that he answers every call that comes in on his phone number, and even the ones that say spam likely. Do I have anyone here that answers incoming cold calls, even those that say spam likely? Is there anyone here that's answering those? I'd like to hear what some of your takes are. Rod, you waved. Do you mind unmuting yourself? What's the general feeling that you have when you take those calls? Are they good calls? Are they bad? Are they poorly constructed? Are they well constructed?
Most of the time, they're very poorly constructed.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't get to the point. They don't tell you why they're calling. They just kind of start going off. And they don't. They're bad. They're bad calls. I just like to hear how they're doing. I maybe have one out of every 15 spam call that's person actually knows what they're talking about.
Okay.
or they'll make it so you want to have a conversation with them,
Hmm.
and I usually do.
That is worth the everything that you just said is you usually do.
Yep.
If they make it with their skill and what they're saying, if they make it semi interesting, you have a conversation.
Yeah. I don't
Right.
usually end up buying anything from them or doing anything, but I have a conversation because I'm interested in to hear what they have to say.
Okay.
But
Uh,
it's like 1 out of every 15. Like I said, it's not much.
yeah. Anybody else seeing anything different? So we're going to get back to our strategy here in a second, but anyone else answering calls and hearing anything different? Anybody get real estate calls? How many of you get the hey, I want to buy your house calls?
I get them all the time. I network with investors, and they're texting me every week. I must get about 6 texts from different people, and we meet once a month.
With the investors that are texting you?
Yeah, with the investors, it's a group,
Yeah.
and it includes lenders and a few other realtors, mostly investors or people who want to buy
Hmm.
for their first starter place.
Okay. It's interesting because I get those texts and I've got the same response. And it really is a great filter, by the way. My response when I get those texts is that I do find properties that are worth buying frequently. If I don't buy them myself, that I'm happy to add that investor that's texting me. And let's get real, it's normally probably a VA. But I tell them that I would be happy to add them to my buyer list if they send me a response with their buy box and their criteria, and I tell them never text me asking me to send you properties again. I'll add you to my list, but if you text me next week or the week after or tomorrow reminding me, you're off my list. And it's funny because they all text again next week reminding me that they're buying a house. And so I've just started taking them off of my list. It's a great way to build a buyer list, but it's also a great way to keep it thinned out.
I think a lot of investors are getting desperate because there isn't a lot for them to buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's true. So those of us that are investors on the call, I think it's important that we understand what our competitors are doing. Who just said it's a go high level drip? Somebody just said it's a go high level drip. It probably is, and I feel bad for kicking people off of my buy list when they're just on a go high level drip, but everybody's using it. And if everybody's using it, then it kind of tells us maybe how we need to pay attention to our list a little bit better and what we need to be offering. So one of the things that we do when we reach out cold through calls is we normally offer a pretty high level overview of what we do, and it's essentially just a concierge service. Now, I want to keep my opening in that call, my explanation of services, really high level and semi generic. We were talking about this on our group coaching session earlier today, about how in conversations, in every prospecting conversation, there are moments when we make consumers either confused or skeptical. Confused or skeptical. And we need to recognize when we've said something that might make someone confused or skeptical. We need to recognize when we've said that and not wait for them to vocalize their confusion or their skepticism, but immediately offer to clarify what we mean. So immediately offer. And I'm going to give you guys one example. And this is just something that you all can do as you're having your prospecting calls, is we keep our purpose for calling pretty high level. So mine is offer resources and guidance, almost like a concierge type of service that helps with different stages of probate. Okay. Offer resources and guidance, almost like a concierge type of service that helps people through the probate process. It's short, simple, Gets to the point, it's like a 30,000 foot view. Now, if you guys heard me say that, I cold called you and I told you that that's what I do, how many of you would know exactly what I do in my business? How many of you wouldn't know what I do in my business? How many of you would be like, okay, I don't know what that is? So that is a quick and easy way to explain your service at a high level overview without boring the person to death. But it's also a way to create a little bit of confusion. What's the opposite of confusion? Not the opposite, but what's the other side of the coin on confusion? It's curiosity. So anytime someone is confused, there's an opportunity there to turn that confusion into curiosity. So what I might say after I give my high-level overview of my service, I might say, hey, I know concierge service probably doesn't give you a lot of clarity. Do you think I could explain more about what I mean when I say concierge service? And that's where you'll get people that say yes. And now you can go a little bit deeper. Now, if you just dove into the deep end of the pool and you described your service at the onset of a call for 2 minutes, you're going to hear a dial tone before you're done. But if you can get someone to say, yes, I do want to hear more about that, now you've bought yourself time. You've kind of created a little bit of a sense of curiosity, and you've bought yourself time to explain more about what you do. Another one might be, hey, my services are completely free, and I know nobody trusts free. Do you think I could tell you what I mean by free? Okay, that's another one. And we do that frequently. I've heard a lot of you guys mentioning that your services are free. Do people trust free? If somebody cold called you out of the blue and said, hey, everything that I do for you is completely free, how many of you would be a tiny bit skeptical over that person's motivations or what they were actually offering for free? I would guess most of us would be skeptical. So we create skepticism, we create confusion, and then we turn it to curiosity. And I know nobody really trusts free. Do you think I could clarify what I mean when I say my services are free? Get some curiosity going, and now you can go deeper into that conversation. So cold calls are still a great way to generate business in the probate space. A couple of challenges that we're noticing lately is the dreaded possible spam flag. The dreaded possible spam flag. If you guys are calling off of a cell phone, you're probably somewhat safe. If you're not unless you're making 60, 70 calls a day or you're behaving like a telemarketer, you're probably somewhat safe. If you're using a dialer or a soft phone or voice over IP phone system, you've got to be really careful. We've actually burned hundreds and hundreds, I would venture to say thousands of phone numbers over the last 6 months because the carrier's AI systems are picking up patterns in the way that you call and moving you to possible spam. So if you guys are cold calling, you want to make sure that you're white labeling or whitelisting your phone numbers. Okay. So anybody here cold calling and been getting caught in the spam folders? You keep flushing your numbers. I know my numbers are expensive. I can't tell you the bills that I've gotten because every time I get rid of a phone number and then put another one in, I have to go pay for a new phone number. And I unfortunately got caught prepaying on an old system. I got caught prepaying for a whole year of phone numbers, and I'd get rid of it, but I'd already paid for the year. So be a little cautious if you guys are replacing numbers. My suggestion is get enough numbers in your markets to $25 for 10 numbers, not bad. Get enough numbers in your markets to where you can rotate your calls. So the carriers don't want to see you making 30 calls an hour for multiple hours in a row. That's a really fast sign to them that you're doing sales calls. Really fast sign. So what you might want to do is have 3 numbers in a market, call on one, move to another number, call, move to another number, call, and then go back and do it again, where you're spacing the calls out a little bit more. So if you're cold calling, just be careful. And then you want to white label your phone number. So that's essentially going in and registering some kind of business name with the phone carrier. Those are protecting numbers. But if anyone's doing any substantial cold calling, it is a challenge these days. So you just have to kind of work through some of those issues. And some of you guys have already figured this out. I feel like I was a little bit late to the game. I was getting my phone numbers burned every 24 hours, and it got to be a little bit of a mess. So if you're doing outbound calls, just try buying multiple numbers that you can call off of, and maybe not going back to back to back. You definitely want to start leaving voice messages. This is one of the things that I used to actively teach against, leaving voice messages early on. Okay. I'm going to suggest that you guys do leave voice messages now. If you're calling, it can be semi-generic, but the carriers like to see that you're leaving voice messages. If they don't, they'll think you're cold calling, and they'll ignore you. They'll put you in possible spam. Okay. All right. So calls and mail are definitely working. Content is another thing that's working today. Anybody doing content besides Bill Gross? We know Bill's doing a lot of content. Anybody doing content online, trying to catch folks in the early in the process that are looking for help with probate, that you can then sell have as a house that you buy or a listing? Wave at me if you guys are doing content. And I don't have a lot of cameras on, so I might not see you if you're waving. All right, so content, guys, I think that's one of the important things. How about attorney relationships? How many of you are actively out building attorney relationships? Besides Bill, not besides Bill. Everybody's really quiet today. So if you want to say, "Hey, I'm doing that and I'm doing that," I know Michael White is building attorney relationships. Let me go to Michael real quick. Give us an update. Have you had a chance to go out and pitch your continuing education class to attorneys yet?
No, I haven't. I'm working with ATL right now to get a line card sort of created so I can use it as a leave behind for the office manager. So that we're getting those printed up right now. I did meet with the local bar rep, CE rep here in Mecklenburg County. Well, we actually have two bars. We have the state bar and then a local Mecklenburg County bar. And she's talking with me about doing like a big group training session. She's going to sponsor it. She'll promote it. She'll find me the space to have it in. She'll provide lunch. And so she's going to invite all the attorneys that are part of the Mecklenburg County Bar to participate in it. So we're hoping to do that sometime, maybe late May, June timeframe, somewhere around there, maybe.
Amazing. So for those that have no idea what you're talking about, give us an overview of what you set up.
Yeah, so attorneys in North Carolina have to have 12 hours of continuing education each year, or 24 hours for a period of 2 years. They renew every 2 years. And I created a CE class, a continuing education class that I can teach to attorneys. And I had the class approved by the state bar, which then gives me access to the attorneys, right? So we can start doing lunch and learns. I can do CE classes. I can give them continuing education credit, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
perfect. Great way to get in front of attorneys. And with the local bar rep that you were just talking about, is she offering to pay? Is she basically wanting to make that class available for free to the attorneys that want to come through it?
Actually, she's going to charge the attorneys, right? Because she charges the attorneys, and whatever they pay, then they get to keep. Her group gets to keep it, and then she'll use that to fund other activities. So she's going to charge the attorneys like $45 to take the class, and again, but she said she provide the room for me. She provide the food, like a box lunch, and she's going to record it too. I didn't mention that. She's going to make it a webinar, or she's going to record it and put it on live demand for me too. So
great.
It'd be a great opportunity if we can get this thing to work out.
Good. sounds like it's on its way to working out. So I just wanted to use kind of Michael as an example because finding ways to interact with and provide value to attorney and start the conversations are very important. So we've got attorney relationships. We have content getting in front of consumers in their Google or ChatGPT searches. And we have outbound prospecting. So those are the three things that all need to run hand in hand and simultaneous if you're going to build kind of a scalable niche in the probate space. Now, any of you could do any one of those things. You could do cold mail, okay, alone. You could do cold calls alone. You could do text messages alone. You could do videos alone. You could market to and build relationships with attorneys alone. But when you can kind of put all these together, the business does seem to get pretty simple. And it does compound on itself. So for anyone that likes kind of building attorney relationships, one solid attorney relationship could be worth 3, 5, 6 referrals every year. Anyone doing more than 6 referrals from an individual attorney on a yearly basis? More than 6 from an individual attorney on a yearly basis. I have someone that's doing 3 per month that are all house flips from one attorney. One attorney. And of course, those of you that are agents, the commission that you make is probably not that great compared to this guy's house flips. So 3 a month from a single attorney, that's kind of the gold standard. Now, there's a really good book I read years ago, and I got it for a penny. It's written by a marketing guy. Just looking over my shoulder here to get it. Perry Marshall is a copywriter and a marketing guy. And this was a lead magnet of his that he sold online for a penny. This book is seriously one of the best books that I've read on how to think about marketing and how to build audiences. It's called 80-20 Sales and Marketing. And we're all familiar with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. It's 20% of your relationships are going to produce 80% of your business. 20% of the people in the country hold 80% of the wealth. I mean, everything gets broken into 80-20 rules. But what we don't know is that inside of every 20%, there's a new 80-20 rule. And if you look at that new 80-20 rule, you're good. So let's take 100 attorneys and we follow the 80-20 rule and we say I have 100 attorney relationships. That means that 20 of them approximately are probably going to refer me business. Okay. I've got 20 attorneys that are referring me business. That means that 20% of the 20 are probably going to refer me business every month. I have 4 referring me business every month. That means that approximately 25% of the 4 are going to refer me multiple times a month. So my buddy that's getting 3 probate referrals from one single attorney, he has 120 attorneys in his network. 120 local attorneys in his network. And it's not 20, 25 that refer him. It might be 15 that refer him. But out of the 15, he's got several that refer him every month and one that just piles everybody on him. So I want you to think about your business in this way and realize that of your relationships, if you can go out and create enough connections and provide enough value, you're going to find the 20%. And in some cases, the 20% of the 20% that really pile business on you. And that's where we want to be if we're pursuing relationships. If you're doing video content, 20% of your videos are probably going to get business for you. If you do enough video content, I bet 20% of the 20% getting business for you are going to get you a lot of business. Okay, so everything in our business falls into these 80-20 rules. And if you guys have not read 80-20 Sales and Marketing, it's kind of an older book now. I do highly recommend it. It's a great book. It's one that I've been meaning to go back and restart here recently. Hey, let me jump over to Bill Gross. Bill, I know you're probably doing some other stuff on the side. I'm trying to create some conversation. What's happening this week?
Well, I've got a new listing in Los Alamitos near me, 1.5 million, referred by a mortgage lender. And so one of the things I think that you talk about referral from professionals and the same content that might be of interest to an attorney in probate and trust might also be of interest to particularly reverse mortgage originators or mortgage originators. And I think, I started with the ones I knew already. I think for everybody in this call, I get phone calls. I'm glad to take them. How do I get started, or how do I scale up? I'm a good realtor, but I want to be great. I want to add probate. And I always tell them the same thing, and they never like to hear it, but start with the people you know already, because the reverse mortgage originator I knew introduced me to this guy, but it just shortcuts the process. And so I get referral leads regularly. I think this is the first listing I've actually taken from a reverse mortgage originator, but I do try to create some content for them and reach out to them as well.
That's very true. And how many people don't have their audience on a list? How many people don't have their sphere of influence, their network partners, their past clients on a list? Don't email them. Don't reach out. Right?
I don't get it. I tell people this, and I've been in this business now for a while, but I built up my list. I only had 700 about 7 or 8 years ago when I went to production full time again. And I had 20,000. I mean, every single realtor, every single TC, every single escrow assistant, every termite person, every real mortgage originator, of course, every reverse mortgage originator, and I think that the idea is that just, you're already putting my data, you're already doing the content, might as well scale up with more people that you know, like, and trust. They can then subscribe. And yeah, you have to write something that's of interest to them or create some content that's of interest to them. But that's what I work at. And I think that we work in a unique time that if you're just going to talk about how good you are and how much business you do, you're going to get crushed by Zillow or Google or Facebook. And if you just talk about your listings, you're going to get crushed by people who have more. But if you can give information that you know is interesting, then the people who know, like, and trust you are going to find it interesting too. And that's going to separate you from the competition.
Mm-hmm. My wife and I were looking this morning at a potential listing. There's a lot of uncertainty around this listing because it is currently listed. Hold on. I've got some feedback coming in. Don't know where it's coming from. Anyone see where the feedback's coming from? Okay, I think we're all right. So had a seller reach out to us who is active on the market and feels like they're not getting what they need out of their current listing agent. I don't know what they need yet. I don't know what their listing agent is doing or not doing in the way of communication or advice or anything like that. And just so everyone knows, if you are a licensed realtor, if you're a realtor, you can't go around the sign, so you can't necessarily reach out to them. But if they reach out to you, you can have a conversation. Okay, so this person reached out to us, and we've got a call with them. And just to do a little bit of homework, we went into that agent's into that agent's listing, and we first looked at price. What's going on with price? Are they way high? No, they're not insanely high. What's going on with the photos? Are they terrible cell phone photos? No, they're probably similar to the photos that we would get with our photographer. What's going on with the third-party marketing? Well, let's get real. Most of us are all using the exact same third-party marketing. Okay, so we put a house in the MLS, it goes everywhere. How much business has this agent done? That's where it got a little bit interesting. One listing in the last year, 2 years ago. So not very many listings. This is a buyer-focused real estate agent. The seller came to us because they see the amount of business that we do. Okay, I see you guys do a lot of business. Obviously, you must do something that's different from our agent now. Now, again, I don't know what the communication is like. This agent may never communicate. There could be a real gripe. By the way, the house has only been on the market for 17 days. Okay, so it really hasn't been long enough to guarantee a buyer at this point. So we don't know exactly what the gripe is, but I can speculate that the gripe is, hey, this agent is obviously more of a buyer's agent. They don't sell a lot of houses, and we haven't sold our house in 17 days. Is probably the gripe that the seller has. That agent, just by the nature of the market these days, is probably not doing a whole lot more than what any of us could do. Hey guys, I'm butting in here with a quick ask. If you're getting value out of this coaching today, I want to invite you to check out my probate mastery trainings over at www.probate-mastery.com. Probate Mastery is for you if you're an agent or an investor that wants to work with motivated sellers that have inherited real estate that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. These sellers are more appreciative, willing to trust your expertise, and less likely to nickel and dime you over commission or price. Why is that? They're often in the middle of a complex probate or an estate administration process, and this means that real estate is very often a burden on them, and they simply need the help. Inside of Probate Mastery, I teach you exactly where to source your leads, how to establish value, and offer your service in a way that quickly makes you, as the professional, your market's expert in the probate space. If you want to know a little bit more, go over to www.probate-mastery.com. Hope to see you guys inside of the community. Thanks. Okay. There are some other little things that all of us could do. We could host extra open houses. That's an effort thing. We could do a little bit more social content. That's an effort thing. We could network with agents and promote a listing. That's an effort thing. Maybe we could create do a video walkthrough. It's an effort thing. But for the most part, we know that the right price and the right presentation from a photo standpoint are normally what get houses sold. But consumers don't know that. Consumers don't know that. Okay. They think that the people that they hear from and they see more frequently and they see more active and aren't just active by saying, hey, I got another buyer out showing another house, but they're active with education-based material is what consumers are looking for. Okay, our education-based material, let's get real, is probably just going to get us more business. But we need to be doing education-based material. If you don't have your sphere of influence and your past client list or your connections, your network connections on an email list like Bill just described, I want to say shame on you. I don't want to guilt anyone. Because if you're guilty of not having an email list with all your connections, you're one of 98% of everyone else on this call. But you're still guilty of ignoring your greatest asset. Your probate list is not your greatest asset. Your audience, your connections that already know, like, and trust you, they're your greatest asset. And if you're not spending time talking to them, there's a problem. And I almost fell out of my chair when Bill said he started with 700 and he's up to 20-some thousand now, because I only started with 700. I think most of us would be lucky to grow to 700. So that's impressive. But we need to be putting messages in front of our connections. We need to. I had, real quick, Bill, before I go to you, a couple of years ago, I've told this story so many times. One of my referral partners who actively refers me business to this day and uses me, I gave a call and I did my real estate hat call. And my real estate hat call is just taking charge of the conversation out of the get-go. Most everybody that I know knows that if I call them, they're probably about to get invited to some kind of a get-together, cookout, or game or concert or something fun. So they answer the phone because 90% of those calls are inviting them to something fun. But every now and then I call and I go, hey, I just had a couple of minutes. I'm meeting a client. I was thinking about you. Can I put my real estate hat on? And it just locks down the conversation and everybody knows we're going in one direction. And I told him, I have no idea if you knew this, but I don't think that we've had a conversation, and I hadn't really given you an update on what I was doing with business. I've been focused a lot on developing some services in the estate and the probate space, and I described those very briefly. And he said, Bruce, I wish you'd have told me this a couple of months ago. Okay. I wish you'd have told me this a couple of months ago. We just sold my mom's house. She passed away about 7 or 8 months ago, and we just sold her house. And this guy had used me personally twice that year and had referred me 3 times that year. But he still sold his mom's house that was an estate property with somebody else. Okay? Why? He was meeting with his attorney, and his attorney said, "Oh, if it's a house like yours, I always go to this person." Okay? And I lost that business from someone that actively used and referred me. And it wasn't because he was upset. He's continued to use and refer me. It was just he got in front of an attorney that said, you should use this agent because they specialize in estates. They're who I trust. And he went with them. And he didn't go with me. Why? Because I didn't talk to him about a specialty in this space. I didn't have an email list. He wasn't on the email list. He wasn't getting material. He wasn't getting emails from me. I didn't have phone conversations with him. So your asset is your audience, is your sphere of influence. And if you're not using it, you're probably missing easy business. Bill, I left you on the sideline too long. What do you have to add?
Well, yeah, just to make it seem a little easier than it is, because you mentioned about how 700 sound like so much. And I think when I ask realtors a question, how many do you have in a database right now you could email to, most of them admit they don't have but a handful. Now, they have in their phone, anybody they called. Some people email out of their phone too. They have in their email a number of people. They have in their old email. They used to use Yahoo. Now they use Google or whatever. They have in their document service, if you use, SkySlope or a program for your real estate business, the company gave you a CRM when you joined them, and you put a bunch there. If you just want to put them all together, and that's all I started with to get to 700. There's a great company, Viral Marketing, that does this. Now they charge a good amount of money to do the setup work, but he also has good educational videos to walk you through doing it on your own. That's what I did, and I have actually some YouTube material called "Your Database Is Your Business." But I got 700 because I put it all together, but it was sitting like in 8 different places, and I put together and started with 700. And then that way, when I did a video, we all start off and say, well, nobody watches the video. You put it on YouTube, you get 1 view, if you're lucky. Your daughter, maybe not even your daughter. But if you have 700 emails and you send it to people who know, like, and trust you, of the 700, 20 or 30 will watch the video. Mm-hmm. And that's how it starts. And then if you just commit yourself from then on, adding everybody into that database by discipline, by a system and procedures, it grows over time. But again, here's my rule. Any realtor who's been in the business, you have at least 100 contacts per year, somewhere in your systems, somewhere. And if you're married, you have another couple hundred because your wife has a doctor and has a hair person and a nail person, or your husband has a car guy or whatever. You got friends, family. Start with that, and if you get committed to that, you'll have 500. You'll have 500 if you be in the business 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm. How many people are in your LinkedIn? How many people are in your Facebook? How many people do you have in your phone? There's an audience that most of us have. And I would say that you put that email out with a video in it to 700 people. The 30 or 40 that watched it, that's more like the 95-5 rule. But there's still an 80-20 rule there. And it may not be exactly 20%. But if you put your video out in an email to enough people, you're going to have a percentage that watch naturally. And a percentage of those people are going to watch all the way through, and a percentage of the people that watch all the way through are going to perfectly match the situation that you're talking about.
And I didn't realize one of the people who I thought was just an attorney, he actually is just an attorney, he's a civil litigator, but he often has clients who die, and the matter is handled in probate court, or the person he sued and won money against died and matters in probate court. He's given me the two of the largest probate cases with multiple properties and helped me bridge into commercial just because he was a longtime friend of mine in my database. I didn't find him at a probate court. I didn't find him. We actually did bump in at probate court and asked me what I was doing. But again, it started with he was in my COI and he saw that I was in real estate and educating him regularly. So I just push that to everybody. I'm sorry, I get that soapbox. It's so hard when people call me and they're failing, and the solutions. It's like we're like in the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy. We have the ruby slippers. It's our database, and if we don't use it, Google and Facebook and those companies are ChatGPT are going to take it from us. But it's ours for the keeping if we work on it.
Mm-hmm. I also want to speak to the idea of putting emails out that don't get read, videos out that don't get watched. And I want you guys to kind of recognize that you're still building awareness even when people don't engage, watch, read. I'll put the social media post every now and then, and I'll have one that's just completely flops. And I'll do 3 or 4 in a row and they flop, and I might get mom that likes them and no comments. Okay. And then inevitably I'll be having a conversation with someone that I know a week later, and he goes, "Oh man, I saw your video, or I saw your post. That was really interesting." And it's like, man, I wish you would have liked it or commented or something to let me know that I wasn't just falling on deaf ears. Because sometimes we can feel like we're falling on deaf ears, but we're not. We're just getting consumed by people who aren't reactors, but they are absorbing what we put out there. I used to do and still technically still do, so I'm just not working with as many buyers right now. So I used to do the pay-per-click buyer lead generation. And we all know that it's a 3% conversion rate on pay-per-click buyer lead generation is generally optimistic. It can be higher, but for most of us, it's less if that's your business. So for me, I was doing that business, and I would bring these buyer leads in, and I'd put them into an email drip campaign that every time a new property was listed in their criteria, they'd get an email. And it would say, "New home just listed in the Raleigh area you might be interested in," something like that. And they'd get emails. And I had people that would get and open emails from me every day. They'd open the email because I could see it in my CRM. And they'd look at the property and they'd like the pictures because I could see it in my CRM. And I'd know that they were engaging with the emails that I was sending out. And then I'd call them and I'd finally get them on the phone, and I'll never remember 2 specific scenarios. One scenario was someone that had opened all my property alert emails for a year. And I finally got them on the phone. I'd been trying. They answered. I said, "Hey, it's Bruce Hill." And they said, "Who?" I said, "Bruce Hill. I'm the one that's the agent that sends you the property updates." "Oh, yeah, your name again was what?" And they were really confused. And it was confusing to me because you're opening my emails every day and you're looking at the properties I'm sending every day. How do you not know me? Okay, so that day I changed my email subject line strategy, and I changed it to "New property that you might be interested in Raleigh dash from Bruce Hill." And I started putting "from Bruce Hill" in my subject line on every property alert or email that I'd send out from that point forward. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 months later, I get this girl on the phone who'd been in my email campaign for months and months and months. For months, she'd get property alert emails that would go out. She'd get drip campaign emails that would go out. I'd never talked to her before, and she had never once opened any of my emails. She'd never opened a single email, but she would see the subject line, "From Bruce Hill." Subject line the next day, "From Bruce Hill." Next day, "From Bruce Hill." And I got her on the phone, and I said, "Hey, this is Bruce Hill." And she goes, "Oh, Bruce Hill, the realtor?" And I said, yeah. And she was like, oh, I've been thinking about calling you. Okay. We had never engaged. She'd never opened my emails. She hadn't engaged in social media, but because I was consistently getting in front of her, she knew who I was. And when I caught her at the right time, she said she'd been thinking she was excited. I'd been thinking about getting a hold of you. So that's just to say that even when you guys do content, or you put emails out that don't get great engagement, or you put a video into an email and you don't see a whole bunch of views, it does not mean that it's not sinking in. It doesn't mean that it's not sinking in. Now, a certain percentage are going to sink in, and it's going to be obvious because they're going to watch your video all the way through and they're going to like it and they're going to subscribe. But just the ones that, just because something doesn't give you that immediate dopamine hit because they engage, doesn't mean that it's not making an impact. All right, so we're coming up. It's been 45 minutes. It's been me and Bill. Thank you, Michael, for jumping in with your an update on your attorney CE. But everybody else has been really quiet, and I'm looking for some engagement. If you guys want Bill and I to keep rapping off of each other, that's great. But we like when there's some questions so that we don't have to guess. Bill, are you with me? It's hard to guess what people want to hear about, right?
Well, I think that it's a missed opportunity for people who want to build their business. Here you're talking to Bruce, who's a accomplished, successful real estate agent, as well as accomplished, successful coach. I also am in the business, and you have other people who listen in and answer questions too. So if you're struggling, this is your chance for free. And so many agents would pay money for coaching, and yet I would say, well, why don't you take advantage of what's available for free first? So I would, urge anybody here. You have a question? Where's your struggle that you're struggling with? Don't be shy. This is where we work it out.
Yep. Agree. And Lou is on our team. He has his hand up, which means someone probably chatted in a question that he's going to read. Probably, unless Lou, you have something else. What's up?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you answered this question already, but okay, let's say you have a large database, but how often do you keep in touch with the contacts?
Bill.
Well, so I have a full database that gets at least an email every week, and that email includes a link to a video. Now, a lot of people are also connected to me via Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever else, bunch of stuff. So at least at a minimum, they're going to get that one, I hope. And then depending on their segment, they're realtors or attorneys or mortgage originators or whatever, different segments get additional. I do 5 podcasts a week. And so there are people who literally get probably 10 emails from me a week, but they cannot subscribe, and I watch the open ratio and it stays about the same. So I think the better question, that's a question from somebody who's not doing anything to reach out to their database. When you get people who say to you, you're doing too much, that's what you need to look at. Am I not segmenting it properly? Because if you're not getting that ever, you're not doing enough. You need to get some negative feedback before you hit the right spot. Nobody is perfect. Therefore, you should always be getting some negative feedback and more positive feedback. I get a lot of emails every week from people who get my videos or emails and love them and have nice questions or support me. I don't get much hate. I really don't. Occasionally I do. I get some nasty real estate agent. I unsubscribed 15 times. Why can't you stop sending it to me? I used to get those a lot. So to answer your question, I would say, if you're not getting some pushback, you're not doing enough, because, out of 100 people, 1 or 2 are going to hate you, and, 80, like you. And it's the 80 that you're writing to, not the 1 or 2. And the 1 or 2 can always unsubscribe.
Correct. Yep. I used to change our marketing habits every time somebody would unsubscribe or email saying, you send me too much stuff. And then I'd go change the marketing habits to let's say 8,000 people that thought that I was doing it perfect and it would hurt business. So I agree. You need to get some negative feedback that you're doing too much. And I'm going to speak to how often, let's say your database, How often are you interacting with people more on a private level? And those are the folks that I would say are your A's and B's. You have a personal relationship with them. And in my opinion, quarterly is no less than quarterly for some kind of a personal interaction outreach. So it's not an email, it's a call. And for me, the call is usually inviting them to something. And if they don't answer the phone, then I consider that it still counts. It still counts. Some of the best referrals that I ever got were people who couldn't make it to the thing that I invited them to, because I'll invite people to coffee later today. Yeah.
There's a real estate probate event in the LA bar, and I invited individually 5 different attorneys that couldn't come. And I got my best attorney is coming, but phone calling somebody, inviting them when they can't come is as good almost as bringing them.
Yeah.
If I could tell a cute story, I think also to go back to the person who asked how often you keep in touch with them, I would say a minimum once a week. But if I can tell a cute story, so I've been on that cadence for a while. And one day I was at the local market, and a local friend / competitor realtor I saw, but he's very old fashioned style. He's a little older than me. I'm old. I'm 67. He's probably 70. He's a very low volume producer. He mostly has his own properties that he leases. Doesn't really sell for anybody else. So he walked up to me in the market and said, Bill, you send out too many emails. I said, oh, okay, I'll unsubscribe you. I just put my phone out and open up the app. And he goes, no. I know you send other people too. You're sending out too many. I said, no. I'm sending too many to you because you're not interested in my content. And that's okay. But I have a 30% open ratio with 20,000 people. That means just do the math. 6,000 people open emails I send out. So if you don't want it, that's all right. Fine, no judgment. And I think that's the thing you actually have to have, which is they're just telling you that they're not in business. They're not serious. They're not looking to sell. They don't like you, whatever it is. But don't let that change your marketing plan because they have their own issues.
Mm-hmm. The things that I track, we'll get to B here in just a second. The things that I track from an email standpoint are open ratio and click ratio. And I also periodically look at the unsubscribe ratio. So unsubscribe, for me, when I look, it's usually about 0.1%. My click ratios, that means that they've read my email and they've wanted what I gave in that email. A video, a link, a discovery call, something like that. They wanted it and they clicked. My click ratios are generally about 6%.
Wow.
Okay. So my open rates are anywhere from 45 to 50%. My click ratios are typically 6%. If I get 3% or less on emails that I send, I quit sending that email and I'll rework it. Just imagine if I looked at that 0.1% of people that unsubscribed and said, oh, man, my content's not working. Let me quit sending this to the 6% that are actually clicking, that are finding value. I'm going to quit going after the 6%, all because 0.1% don't like what I'm sending. Just imagine where business would be if that was the case. Now, if you're getting 6% that hate what you're sending and 0.1% that are clicking on what you're sending, now you might want to change some things up. But that Bill makes a really good case that what he's sending is too much for that one person, and that's okay. It's okay. It's just right for a lot of folks. Hey, B. I'm assuming pronounced B, right? You please correct me.
Yes, it's B.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. How are you?
I am good. So I'll admit I'm struggling a bit, especially in this niche. And I'm just wondering, when is the best time? Like, I've sent out a series of letters. I've tried calling people. Not very successful at that yet. At what point can you send where it's not too direct? I can make a cash offer on your home.
I think that there's no bad time to do I can make a cash offer on your home. How you position it and to whom it's coming from are going to be the potential tricks, because we want to recognize that if you drop, I want to make a cash offer on your inherited home in front of 100 people that just applied for probate, you're probably going to have 95 pretty. Let me not say that. You're going to have 10 really bothered people. And you're going to have 60 people that really ignore you. And then you're going to have some people that save your letter or maybe even immediately respond favorably. So the question that you need to ask yourself, if am I willing to burn the bridge with those people that really get bothered? And if the answer is no, then I would send it from a different company. So I don't know what your business model is. If you're an investor or you have an investor that you work with, I might send it as though you're working on behalf of that investor or your investment house buying company or something like that. And then that way it doesn't as easily directly get tied back to you if they're mad. Okay, I do this. I'll send those out. And if they're outraged, then it doesn't necessarily land back on me personally or my estate administration concierge company. So I think that there's going to be a certain percentage of any probate list that has an urgent financial need and that house needs to go right now. And those people are going to be the ones that call you and say, you're a lifesaver. I couldn't get through this without you. I want you to come by my house right now. It's not a big percentage, but there is a percentage that early on, that's what they need right now. There's a big percent that early on, the house is the last thing on their mind. So when you do that, I want to buy your house letter, you probably need another one in 4, 5, 6 months.
Okay, because I've been sending out a series of letters and postcards. I wonder, like, maybe on the 5th or 6th month, is that a good time to pay cash for your house?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'm not a big, I do want to mention this. There's so many folks here that do postcards. I am really not a believer in postcards. If I do postcards, they're usually a brand reminder to an audience that I've already made some kind of connection with. Okay. I don't normally do postcards as anything other than just a little brand reminder.
Okay, well, I do letters first, and then I'll just send out a postcard as a...
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I would consider, if you're calling, I would consider maybe mixing in some calls that don't lead with anything real estate related. They lead with some kind of a value offer, like a lead magnet, like a resources guide or something like that. That'll generate a lot more engagement than I'm calling about your probate case with real estate involved. It'll create more engagement, creates a less motivated audience, but it's an audience that you can nurture over time. And I'm not going to say don't do the real estate direct call either if you're calling. I think that there's a place for calling and saying, hey, I've got a buyer, they wants to make an offer on your home. And there's also a place saying, hey, I can help you with the probate process. Same on the letter side of things. They both work. And I think that both campaigns deserve simultaneous effort.
Okay.
Don't want to spend all your money though, because mail is expensive. So just know that different messages resonate with different people at different times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope that helped a little bit. Some people are looking, I'm not saying you, but some people ask a question and they're looking for say this exact same thing and everyone's going to come to you. And I know that if I said this exact same thing and gave the precise wording of what your letter or your call should be, you're going to get one person that says it's the best thing ever and another person that says that you're an ambulance chaser. So we're still dealing with people and personalities in different stages of grief and different stages of motivation. So even if there was one perfect thing to say that got the majority of people to use you, it's still going to be the wrong thing for a couple of people. The reality is, any message that we put in front of someone is going to be perfect for a small group of people and dead wrong for another small group of people. And then there's going to be a lot of people in the middle that might need that, but just not right now.
Okay.
All right. Trevor, thanks. You grabbed the book on Audible. I saw someone earlier. So 80/20 sales and marketing. Someone earlier said that it was $3.21 on Audible. It's a seriously good book. There are charts and graphs in here, if I'm not mistaken, that might be kind of weird on Audible. So first half of the book is loaded, packed with content, and if I'm not mistaken, it gets into some charts and graphs later. So if you get it on Audible and you get into charts and graphs and the boring explanation on that, don't blame me. Still a good book, though. All right. Anybody else? B, do you have any other questions since you were the last up and nobody else is jumping in?
No, I'm struggling a bit, so I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out.
I would do what Bill just suggested and start putting, even if it's not weekly, start putting something out to your audience. Make sure your audience is in some kind of an email list. Any connections that you have, and start talking about probate. To people that already know who you are. Letters are great. Letters are generally one of the last things I add to a campaign, to a business. They're for most of us on the call, they're usually the first thing that we add. Why? It's usually easy to write a couple of letters and put them in a campaign that just goes. It's not as easy to make calls, call attorneys, go network with attorneys, door knock, create content. I didn't put content last on purpose. Content should be one of the first things that you do. So I'd probably pull back on letters and maybe get some of the other things going and then start to go heavier on letters because they happen to be about the most expensive thing that we can do. And they do produce results, but they're the least consistent from a result standpoint. If you put me on the phone with 4 people, I'm going to get 1 person in my pipeline. Maybe 2 or 3, depends on my skill on the phone. If I talk to 4 people and I get, or 8 people and I get 7 no's, that means I probably need to tweak my message a little bit. So phone is normally the fastest way to fill a pipeline up. Letters are the least fast to fill a pipeline up, but there is business in letters. Content is something that I would lean on as well. And then of course, email marketing.
Okay.
Yep. All right. We're at 3:00. We're actually a little bit after. Thank you guys for being here. Try to show up next week and ask any questions that you wish you'd asked this week. We're always looking for more engagement, more questions on these calls. I do appreciate you guys being here, though. Hope you got something out of the call. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday, 2:00 Eastern time. And if you ever want to look at any of these after the fact, you can go on YouTube, Probate Mastery, or look on your podcast platform for the Estate Professionals Mastermind. See you guys soon.